Egunon, muy buenos días.
Good morning to everyone. Let's commence this last press conference this morning. It's a French production, Le Sens de la Fête, c'est la vie, which has just been shown for the press. And as you know, the film is projected within the official section of the film festival. And to present it, we have the presence of both script writers and co-directors, Eric Toledano and Olivier Necacher. And we also have Gilles Lelouch, who is one of the actors in the film. So we can start. Hi, good afternoon. Hi, good afternoon. Hi, thank you very much for the film. We had a great laugh. I wanted to ask a couple of questions. The first is, how did you get along with so many people on set, backwards and forwards, in practically every scene? And the second question, and this is a personal point of view, it reminded me of the film Bogdanovich, Noises Off, saving the distances, but I saw some similarities. I'm not too sure whether you can make any talk about any references that you had for the making of this film, comedies or whatever. Regarding the references, especially Italian comedies of the 1970s, that's where our influences come above all. And also the film Marriage, that is to say, by Altman, a film that's not a comedy, but it does show us a wedding, and the Nouveau Sauvage by Damien Safran, which is another film that has influenced us. And the fact that there are so many actors, and it's a challenge that Olivier and I like very much. We've always liked to manage a lot of characters at the same time, as if it were like jazz. There are many different instruments in the film. Every musician plays their own role, and we like that very much in films. And it's very pleasant. And it's films that we've already made with two films that we made in France, where we had different actors or different types of actors to manage. And it also helps us to get together families of different types of actors. From France, not all actors belong to the same group or family. There are all kinds, some that belong to the one-man show, others that come more from the theater, like Ben Charman, the groom that comes from French comedy, and then there are much more popular actors. But that's how it's as if we've gathered them together in one genre, which labels the film to not be defined in any genre. It's a tragic comedy, so to say, or a comic drama, and we don't want to fit into one single category and to sort of become more blurry and at the edges and to not be clear-cut. From Brazil. Congratulations, a very good film. Could you talk to us about your work with the DOP, the director of photography? From Untouchable, we worked with Mathieu Baquet. For us, it was a very important encounter, meeting him. We've worked a lot with him. Since Untouchable, he's now the artistic director, and there's also a film called Mustang that we saw and that we liked. So therefore, we also got in touch with David Chizalet, the DOP of that film, and we asked them both to work together. So therefore, for us, it was very important the form and the shape that the film had, a film that takes place in one single night. So it's very important for us to be able to follow Max throughout the entire evening, and we've thought about how the light goes from day turning into dark until in the end we run out of light, and we and we use flames. So therefore, in every film, we try to identify the best form in order to fit into the background and fit in with the storyline. Hi. Can you tell us what it was like to shoot that scene with the big balloon, with the giant balloon? Well, yes, but we can't tell that to the spectators to keep it to keep the surprise for people who haven't seen the film yet. It was an oniric almost moment. A comedy, no matter whatever the rhythm it has, a comedy can't have the same rhythm all throughout the film. So therefore, we've tried for the rhythm to be very quick, but at a given moment, we have wanted to slow it down to go almost to a poetic sort of rhythm. And in the middle of this poetic change, we go back to comedy. So therefore, it was a challenge. We spent 4 nights shooting that film. The actor had to train for 3 months to carry out those acrobatics, and it's he himself who was at 20 meters above ground level. It was complicated, yes, but for us, the result is worthwhile when we saw it, when you see the reaction in the film theater. Everyone is a bit out of place because it brings about a sense of surprise, I'm sure, but it's a moment in the film in which we saw the film and we can't avoid seeing the reaction of the audience. It's a magical moment when Gilles kisses Adele. That's a moment in which everything is suspended and stops in midair. Another questions for the 3 of you. Can you talk about the work with the actor Jean-Pierre Bacri? In France, Jean-Pierre Bacri, for all generations of actors, is considered as one of the best and oldest French actors. He's a person that not only participates as an actor, but also as an author. He is a person who also forms part and integrates himself very well. Apart from an actor, he's a man and he's a citizen who's very committed to his ideas in our country. He's a person who's very well respected and also an impressive guy. So therefore, all of us, just as Eric has mentioned, we all come from different universes. Some come from the theater, others from film, others from TV. But all of us were constantly impressed and happy to work with him. It's admirable to see how he prepares his role and conveys it. An anecdote, for example, one night in the film, I'm not too sure whether you remember the scene, but I hope you do. He starts to scream at everyone, and he appears there with his torch and flames, and he screams at all of the employees. And that was done. He had 4 pages of text, a lot of dialogue there, and he answered, and he did the scene with a certain elegance and with all the minimum details and all the nuances from the beginning, which we all ended up clapping him because it was a lesson of filmmaking and acting. It was a pleasure and an honor to work with him, and for us, we had wanted to work and meet him and work with him for many years. We visited him before writing the script to talk to him about it, and to tell him that perhaps in a year or a year and a half's time, perhaps we could work together. And his reaction was, he was in agreement. So therefore, we included him in the writing process. Every time we wrote a part of the script, we gave it to him to read. So therefore, he got involved in preparing the dialogues and the script. He gets involved 100%, just like Gilles said, and that's not normal. When he says yes 100% with all the consequences. So therefore, we were glad that he portrayed Max in the film. Congratulations for the film. The film is a lot of fun. I wanted to ask the directors whether after the success of Intocable, whether there's more pressure because of the expectations of the audience, because everyone's waiting for your new films to come out. And on the other hand, the actor, I'd like to ask him the reference to create that orchestra singer. I don't know whether you looked at someone real or was it your own creation, or was that up to the directors? were to blame for this. No, I didn't inspire myself on anyone. Quite happily, I say, well, because if I had to inspire myself on someone, no, they came along and they proposed that I portray this role, and I loved the character. I was very fortunate to be able to work with them. It was a true pleasure. Then I was able to train with singers and with groups, people that sing in weddings, and who are people that are much more serious than my character, to the truth, because they are very, very professional, who have a lot of talent. And for me, it was great to be able to be with them and to learn from them, because something which I think is very moving in the entire process is that the musicians at a wedding, or the musicians in a bar, or when they fill up a stadium, that wherever they work, it's the same job. The passion is exactly the same wherever they work or play their music. So therefore, I observed a little how they worked, how seriously they work, and how they wanted this character to be very egocentric and to act as a star, like a star. And I mixed all of those things together. Are you the one that sings? Yes, I'm the one that sings, but you can notice that. You notice that, don't you? He knew how to that Italian yogurt that sings, so to speak. We didn't teach him that. He did it on his own. And vis-a-vis our pressure since the last film, well, our philosophy with Olivier has always been to tell each other, it has been a magnificent adventure out of the normal, out of the ordinary, to allow us to travel and meet many people, but we couldn't stop there and stop, quote unquote, just because we had a hit with our last film. But what we've decided is to take the positive side of the adventure, to say, well, okay, well, it represents like a calling card no matter where we go. This is the last film, but let's not get stuck there. Then we filmed Samba, which was also at this film festival, and which was also a film that enabled us to putting our attention into another issue which is much more up to date, which is the issue of the migrations that are taking place in the world. And we wanted to tell that story of anxiety that surrounds us. And now we've come back to evoke laughter. We've come along from something which was much sadder, and just like Billy Wilder said, he said when he was sad, he wrote a comedy. I think now we've done practically the same thing, to try to find happiness in comedy, because we see that things surrounding us are a bit dark. But Intouchable, it was a good starting point, but we didn't stop there. We have to continue and go ahead, and our hope is to continue in the future to come with our films to San Sebastian. And then plus, we continue to work with the same crew, with Gaumont, with Adolfo, who's here as well, and his whole team of Contracorriente. So therefore, we continue to progress, and in family. And we're very happy to be here in the competition here in San Sebastian. What Olivier says is true. It's a comedy now. And someone may think that there's no room for this in the festival, but here we are with this comedy. And that shows that following our own instincts, and without even thinking about people, but just thinking and doing what we feel inside, is how we have to continue to work. And Intouchable gave us the freedom to be able to do what we wanted to do. And to be here underlines the fact that we have to continue to do things this way, a comedy in a festival. Well, why not? Thank you very much, José Luis Rebordinos, for having confided and put his trust in us, because it's not normal for a comedy to be in the official section. Well, there are comedies in Cannes. Yes, are there? Well, De Que was a comedy. Yes, that's right. Hi again. What draws my attention in films on funerals or on weddings, obviously a lot of people get together, and normally it's either they're very powerful dramas or they're crazy comedies with a touch of drama, just like in your film. Do you think that these types of events usually take out the best and the worst of people, bring out the best and the worst of people. Is normally extremes, powerful dramas, or crazy comedies. What do you think? It's a field which is a comedy or a funeral or a wedding is good for comedy. But in this film, contrary to the films that have been made in the United States, where they talk about witnesses and families in weddings, here we want to focus upon the people that work at the wedding to see how they carry out their work and what they do. And the context could have taken place somewhere else. That is to say, perhaps we can't respond to the specificity of a wedding, but it is a place where people get in touch with each other, and the working world is described very well to find very different types of personalities amongst those people who work at a wedding. But since cinema and theatre exists, a wedding has been we've looked at it like a playground. Let's use this playground at the wedding. But we weren't interested especially in the wedding. What we were interested in was that it talks about it does show the wedding, but we want to continue to celebrate things where in the surrounding area in the world, the surrounding world is a bit, there's a lot of anguish. And that we wanted that counterposition, that is to say, Jean-Pierre Bacri, the actor, says a bit sad, but he continues to have that joy of celebrating things. Perhaps we could have done something in a funeral, I don't know. Next question, please.
Je crois qu'il y a une identité d'auteur à votre cinéma.
In your films, there's a mark, as an author, because you talk about multiculturalism, especially in Europe, especially the multiculturalism that exists in France. There are people that come from Pakistan, from India, from different parts of the world. Could you address this issue a little? Because it appears and reappears, and we see it quite often in your films. Yes, it is true that in every film that we make, these are films that are multicultural with a casting that represents, and it's a reflection of the French society. That's what we write, and that's what we are. We are ourselves. We are in this society, and that's what we want to show. It is true that we make films that are very fraternal, films that are, and just like the main character says, we adapt ourselves. We have to adapt and progress together. This enables us to discover actors of all types from all types of origins, and we love that. And specifically in this case, we've been very lucky to find those two actors from Sri Lanka to work with us. And that's very enriching. We love to mix things and mix all of those actors together. Just like when to find jazz music, for example, which was also important. And in this film, we wanted to mix all types of actors, and that motivates us. And the fact that everything takes place in one place and in one single night, it's also very interesting because it's almost a snapshot of French society. And when that snapshot is taken, we've got to show it how it is. France is a multicultural country. We've just gone through some very complicated elections a little while back, but the reality is as it is. Even in the working world, when we make films and we want to show reality, we have to bear in mind how society is. And in that photograph, in that snapshot or photograph, that's what we wanted to show or convey, that reality. Next question, please. Congratulations for the film. I would like to ask you, because from my point of view, one of the keys of humor are the very unexpected and very dialogues. Why do you work with the actors when they know that they're going to respond so that the shoot is not eternal and taking a lot of false takes? Because everyone starts to crack up on set and you've got to do another scene and repeat it and do a lot of takes. No, you answer. Well, it's great to work with them because on the one hand, you've got the dialogues which are written down, and the truth is it's not necessary at all to add nor improvise anything because all of the music is there. So to try to improvise on dialogues like this that are so well written would be to disintone, so that we always respected the dialogues here. But on the shoot, when all of a sudden something occurs to them at a given moment, like at any moment, if something comes to mind, they say, well, do say this, or say that, or no, or turn around, or... So therefore it continues to be something very dynamic because in turn, we actors, we get there with a defined type of work because we've learnt all of the dialogues. So everything, the foundations are very solid, but they make that much more alive and dynamic, and we don't really know what's going to happen because all of a sudden the scene could be as it's written on the script, but then all of a sudden the scene changes, or they want to change it, and that is very, very pleasant because they are very kind and they work, they're very simple, they're very nice to us, and you can do some acrobatics and you know that at the end that you're going to be able to land, so you can do these acrobatics when they ask you to do them. As an actor, when they weren't working with me, I was watching them how they were working with the other actors and actresses, and it was very great to see them, very pleasing to see them work in like a state of grace, and was so much fun at the same time with the other actors. Your previous film, quite curiously, was directed. The last one, the last press conference, there were two directors. They told us how they worked together. Could you explain how you guys do your work together? Well, we work together. We've been working together for 20 years, for a long time now, and we started in this world together, making shorts. So we've also got well lubricated mechanics, and we don't address too many issues. We write the script together, and we reflect upon things a lot before we come to shoot the film, and then the shoot is very natural. Well, it's not the idea if one's an expert in one technique and the other is an actor's director. We worked in a complementary way together. Any further questions? Can you talk about the music, please? Yes, the soundtrack, the songs. As regards to the composer, we talked to someone who had never worked in cinema. He's called Avishai Cohen. I don't know whether you know him, Avishai Cohen, but in France he's well known. We listened to his music while we were writing the script, and that lasted 18 months. And at the end, we went to see him in a concert, and we asked him to work with us. His music, as Olivier was saying before, is a jazz which is a bit mixed, but it's got much more rhythm, a bit faster, with instruments that aren't normally used in jazz, like, for example, instruments from the Middle East with a lot of percussion. That gives a certain rhythm provides a certain rhythm for the film. And it was a very interesting meeting. And there's also a marriage, a couple, not only the couple, but between Avishai Cohen and us. It's as if we were married. It was like a very interesting blend, shall we say, between it. And we made the film as if it was a fragment of jazz music. There's a moment in which one of the musicians plays a solo, but they all, at the end of the day, play together their music. So I think music is very useful to accompany the film and what we want to tell, the story we want to tell with the film. I think it's very beautiful when we can generate a harmony that can be seen on the film. The music is very natural, and film and a bit more complex, but we want to link together the jazz ambience and what the story we wanted to tell. And when we put the music on the film and it worked, well, at least it worked for us. I hope it works for you. The truth is we felt very happy. Okay. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Écrasé rapide ou ça va? Écrasé rapide ou...